Hi guys, welcome back to the Butterfly Effect podcast. You are here for our next part where we're going to talk about a potential future Supermassive games. We've had it where I've done my own one set in a jungle. Jack, you had one, didn't you? That was set like in a glacier setting.
That's it, the shape-shifting villain, who could forget?
Exactly. And we're bringing in the fans for the third one. So without, further ado, thank you very much for joining us, Brian.
Thank you, Liam and Jack. It is a pleasure to be here. I love your guys' channel. I am a huge, massive fan of Supermassive Games and the Dark Pictures anthology. And honestly, I just really am grateful for the chance to explain my sort of, fan fiction horror story to you guys. And I'm glad you like it. And I hope everyone else could, also like it.
Yeah, no, of course. Like, before we get stuck in, just, me fishing for compliments, really. Well, you've been commenting on our channel for quite some time now, so you're one of our longest serving fans, and we really appreciate the support you've given us over the past year. Do you recall roughly, like, what the first video you saw was that got you into the channel?
I'm not really sure at the moment. I think I started around the quarry time. So there was another YouTuber named, I believe his name is The Hidden Guru. And he made awesome Supermassive and Dark Picture videos, but he couldn't. I don't remember what happened to his channel. It was like there was like a hiatus, or he just didn't do as many like breakdowns about videos. And I was kind of looking for another channel to kind of figure out more on, and also because I love the world of Supermassive Games and Dark Pictures. I love the lore behind the stories, and I try to look for more channels that break down all of these lores and try to predict the next game and things like that, because one, I love it, but also because the previous guy I used, The Hidden Guru, he kind of like didn't upload as much. So yeah, that's how I found your guys' channel.
Yeah, through the quarry. No, that was a good time. Yeah, I kind of missed doing that, to be fair. No, that's really cool, man. And yeah, Hidden Object Guru, he's a long-term ally of the channel. We get on really well with the guy. Yeah, he's been, such an ally for us. Brilliant. But we'll get stuck into your game. So you've called it the Farmhouse, which is really intriguing. That doesn't sound like a game that we've seen at all. Just tell us a little blurb, maybe something about like the prologue. Just give us a little brief description about what we can expect from the Farmhouse.
Sure, absolutely. So I actually did upload this on Discord. I don't know if you want me to read the whole thing, but like, what I mean? Like all the way through from beginning to end, or simply like I just talk about the prologue and then we talk about the prologue idea and then we just move on to the main characters. I don't know if you want to do that, but yeah, I guess so. Like the prologue is gonna start in like I would say like the I would say like around the 18th or 19th century. So it would be like in the past, sort of, in colonial America, and we would have we're playing as these characters, this family, and we don't really know what happens. But like I said, what happens is all of a sudden they get dragged outside and they get killed, sort of, by this other group, this other family. And it's like, what the heck happened? You know what I mean? It's like, why are they killing them? And there's even kids in this group, this family, which would make it pretty dark. Like, obviously you would have to cut it, but you could show the parents being killed or something like that. And it's just like, so you're just thinking, what the heck are these people doing? Why are they killing this family? And this, ripping them out of their home, which would be very dark. And then we fast forward to like 200 or 300 years later, into the present timeline. So that's kind of how the prologue is. And we would actually see these characters again from the prologue, but just in a different version, which is part of my story. So.
No, fantastic. Yeah, I've got the thing you wrote in front of us. Like, yeah, and it does seem really intriguing. Jack speaks a lot about having variety in a cast of 5. So, Jack, what do you make of the 5 there being a family?
Yeah, you know what? The first thing is that I love the fact that it's a family. It's a family dynamic. It's honestly, how like we've said on the channel before, how we love the prologue of Little Hope. It's sort of like ringing a distant bell of that in a way, but obviously it's set on a farm in that colonial America. And Yeah, like it just opens up so many doors for the choices. I mean, I'm assuming it's the same for like the main body of the game, right? Like whether it's that you're playing as a family, but you can just get so many interesting choices in that. As a dilemma, like if you're playing as the parent and you've got to choose between two children. So like, it's a really solid idea, Brian. Like I'm liking the sound of it so far.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate that. I just figured that there was never really a situation where a family was the ones trying to survive. But the thing is, there's a lot of horror movies that have a family that are being attacked by something, and let's say at the end of the movie, everyone in the family is just dead or something. But also in the Dark Pictures games and Supermassive games, the characters that you play as, they're just friends and stuff, or they're just co-workers. And even if every single character dies, we know that the families are going to find out eventually, but a whole family did not go extinct. That's basically how kind of these games kind of work for the most part, is no matter what choices you make, even if you fail all the characters, it's still not like a whole family that just died out. And it's like, well, this will be the change. This will be it would be this version of it, because I figured they never done it, so that's why I kind of wrote it as a family dynamic.
That seems really interesting, and I've read the description of the cast you've got going on. So you've got a dad with anger issues, a mum who's bossy, the eldest twin who likes girls and shooting guns you've put, twin sister who's a studyholic, Diana, and you've got Chase, the young shy kid. So already it seems like you've got a family, but you've got some really good variety in there. So yeah, what was kind of your reasoning for picking those characters and the traits they have?
Great question, man. Thank you. One thing is, with a cast of 5, I feel like I had to even out. I decided to go with the typical American kind of family, the dream family. It's like, hey, you got the father, the mother, and the 3 kids. That's kind of like the American stereotype, you know what I mean? And I decided to go with 2 females and 3 males in the family, kind of like, because that's like kind of like a Dark Pictures cliche, or not cliche, but standard, I guess. And as far as the family, I decided to me, I feel like the parents was definitely a necessity, because I feel like that would add an interesting dynamic. It's like, hey, you have the father and the mother. That's never really been a thing in the games, and them interacting in a horror story. And then also for the kids, I didn't want to go with too young, because if they can die, like, to me, I'm just thinking like, yeah, I don't think if you go any younger than like 15 or something like that, like with the cast, like let's say I had an 8-year-old girl in the character in the family, it's like, well, these characters can die brutal deaths, so it's like that's kind of pushing it, you know what I mean? So I figured, you know what I mean, like the 2 eldest who are in college, and then one who is a teenager. I feel like that made more sense. And yeah, I just kind of figured that, hey, one of the reasons why I picked this family is because like the eldest brother is the opposite of the sister, and then the youngest is kind of just, there's an age gap, so and also he's by himself a lot, like, you know what I mean, so he's like a little more shy, because he's not like as close to his siblings because the age gap. And yeah, so that's kind of why I did it. The American stereotypical family, 3 parents and 3 kids, and that's kind of why I chose the ages, because I didn't want to go super younger, because they have to be in the game, they have to be interesting. I didn't want to pick a young kid you play as. I figured that's why I did it. So yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, so obviously, sort of like the prologues that we get from the other DPA games, there's usually a heartbeat sequence or some QTEs to serve as like a tutorial to the player. So like, would that be in this game as well? Is there anything you'd be tempted to mess around with a little bit, just to like make it a little bit different from the other games?
Great question, Jack. This part I haven't really thought about too much, but like, to me, I still think that well, if it's a Dark Pictures game, I feel like it's still gonna be a heartbeat kind of thing. I mean, I feel like even Until Dawn and The Quarry still, even though it says, don't move and hold your breath, to me, it's still the same thing as to control your breathing. so I would not get rid of this implement in my fan fiction game on the farm. I would still keep it because I think holding your breath is still important in the game because you have to hide from very dangerous threats. So I figure that, you know, maybe even like you will have to do it like a lot in the game, you know, to hide from the danger. But as far as the prologue, I don't know, because everyone knows how it kind of works. It's like, do we always need the tutorial with you know, in the prologue? Because it's like, you know, people kind of already know how this works. So I don't know, but yeah, great question though.
No, fantastic. Something I want to get into really is like the horror aspect of the game. So you mentioned that story-wise, like the family start realizing there's something off with this farm, and you have the animals that start attacking the family. I want to like, do you have kind of roughly in your mind how the family would discover this? Because I can imagine you could toy about with so many horror elements there, whether you're going around a barn and animals are acting strangely. I reckon yours has real strong horror potential, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not a big like horror junkie, I guess, like, or you know, a horror buff. Like, I don't know too many like examples, but like, so there would still be obviously jump scares. You need those. So like, one thing is like, hey, you have the family driving to the farm and in the woods. Let's say that, you know, you're playing as Chase, you know, the baby, you know, the family, you know, 15, you know, not baby, but yeah. And he's like looking out the window, and then he's seeing he's just looking at the woods as they're passing, and all of a sudden he just sees this figure, like this creepy figure in a flash, and then he's just like, it's just like, well, wait, what? You know, it's you know what I mean, like that would be like one of the first jump scares in the game. And there would also be another reason why things start going bad is because the family has now come to the farm, and like I said, one of the reasons why it's bad is because it is the 100 it's now been the, you know, another 100 years since the deaths of the people from the prologue. So that is kind of playing into this curse. Like, so yes, it is kind of a curse thing, but whether or not it's broken or not, obviously that depends on you. So it does kind of, I mean, it does kind of borrow some things from the quarry in a way. But one of the difference is like, okay, so like, let's say your character is just, there's a lot of things. Like, let's say you're washing your face, and then, or you see something, or how about this, you know, it's a dark hallway, and then you see a figure, and then you turn on the light and the figure's gone. It's like, there's a lot of still potential jump scares and creepy things that can happen. So they come to the farm, and like, one, it's very old and stuff, you know, and you know, like, obviously, like, it seems peaceful at the moment, but they get this weird feeling, like, you know, like, the family is just having these weird feelings about the farm. And also, let's say you go exploring and you come across like, you know, something on the ground. You kind of like dig it up, and it's like, whoa, and it's like a photo or something of the family from the prologue, or it's, you know, like burned pieces of wood, and then you kind of piece together, it's like, well, what happened here, you know, sort of thing. You know, like on the farmland, because like the farm is massive, and you know, you kind of dig into the mystery of what happened to this family, and why were they killed, and why is this weird stuff happening to the farm. So that's one thing I would do.
Yeah, you know what I was just gonna say, because honestly, like you, Brian, I'm actually not that much of a horror buff, like in terms of, you know, movies and things. I'd say I'm a bit more of a casual fan, but like, for me, one of the strongest subgenres is the home invasion. Just those movies where, because obviously I think we all see like the home as like a safe space, and of course when there's an outside intruder coming into that space, whether it's in the dark and, like you said, you know, figures and the lights going out and stuff, it all sounds like really good stuff. But I think as well, you've got like these animals in there, like these demonic animals that you can't really reason with them. It's not like you can have a conversation with them. They're just, you know, they're purely primal, they're brutal. So I'm just trying to think of like, have you got any specific deaths in mind as to like how these animals, you know, go about killing you?
Oh yeah, it can get pretty dark, and like, obviously it would kind of depend if like, so one of it is like, if you make bad choices, or you fail QTEs. One potential death could be, you get trampled to death by a certain animal, and yeah, that would not be pleasant. And another is, like, let's say a bull, which is one of the animals that could be possessed, charges and kills you. It literally stabs you with its horn, killing you. That could be another potential death. There are dogs too, so you can be mauled. That is another one. And also, I'm thinking about maybe the animals, because they are kind of supernatural, they can cause certain things. Like they can cause a fire. They can cause a fire in like a barn or something if you're stuck in it, or so you can possibly burn to death as well if you're not careful. And or maybe even you could fall down into, like, you can accidentally be killed by a wood chipper or something if you're running from the animals or something like that. Maybe you could fall in. There's just a whole bunch of like potential deaths, like, because these animals are 100% trying to kill you. And it's not like, oh, these are dumb animals. It's like, no, these animals are possessed by these spirits on this farm because it has been the next 100 years since the anniversary of what happened here. So and then also it would be so ironic because this is the same day the family comes to visit. Like, the family's never been on the farm. It's their first day on the farm for the grandparents, and it's like, but also it's like, it's the 100 years, and obviously that's part of the curse. These spirits want to wipe out this family.
That does sound really intriguing. I'm really sold, and the more you speak about it, the more I'm hoping this does come to fruition and becomes a thing. One thing you've mentioned, and it's to do with the mum, that she's got medical knowledge, and you mentioned a potential healing feature. Now, obviously, before I pass it to you, I'm just going to kind of like chime in. I'm not sure if this is what you meant, but you know how like in the quarry we had death rewinds? I love the idea of maybe having like 3 or 2 lives in there or something, but you can have the mum come in and heal, but she can only do it so much, or if she's in the game and hasn't died off. So it's a cool way of introducing a feature such as Death Rewind, but using someone's medical knowledge. So I really like the fact you've gone with that, and I just wanted you to elaborate on what some of the ideas you might have had for this mother character with her medical background.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I kind of just came up with this idea. I'm like, I mean, I did get some inspiration, but basically the idea was like, okay, she is this girl who doesn't make time for boys. So she's the opposite of her, brother, where he's, is a bit of a, he's a typical, he looks like a typical college student, sort of thing. He likes girls and stuff, but she is more studying, and she loves animals, which would also make it difficult to survive against them, because it's like, wow, like she's a animal lover, and she wants to be a vet, and it's just like, she might have to kill them to protect her family, but also, yeah, I know what you mean about Death Rewind. I don't know if that would be a thing, but yeah, like basically, let's say, a certain character falls down and breaks their ankle or something, or like, let's say a character gets stabbed by something and they might be bleeding, and that blood is going to let the other animals know. But let's say if she's able to find one of her family members who's bleeding, she could patch them up. So it's like, okay, that blood dripping is not going to be a problem anymore, which would change a certain outcome in the game. And then also perhaps a certain character is stabbed or something, or maybe they're accidentally shot, and you're, as the one who with the medical knowledge, you can perhaps save them if you are there at the right time. So that's kind of where it's been implemented, and I think it would add a layer of like, oh my goodness, I need to try. You are playing as this daughter who's trying to save someone in their family, so there's a lot of pressure for the character and you, because you are trying to keep that person alive because you care about them, but also for the sister, that is her family member. So there's a lot of instead of just like fighting all the time, it's like, no, this is just like trying to keep a family member from dying or staying injured. I definitely think it would add to the stress of the night, but as well as give the character something to do. And also Yeah, I feel like that hasn't been a thing in the Dark Pictures and stuff. Like when characters get injured, it's like not really much of a bother in a way in the Supermassive games, the Dark Pictures. So it's like, oh wow, so if a character gets injured in this game, it could change things a lot because these are animals, so they can smell blood. So there are problems with that. You know what I mean? Like that could be a thing implemented.
It reminds me a lot of Sam in Until Dawn when she can get her head busted open if you have a choice messing with nature in the early stages of the game, and then it has an impact on the choice later. But you've almost taken that idea and expanded it, so I really love that, to be honest.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
It's like they flirted with the idea in House of Ashes as well, didn't they? You could I'm pretty sure there was an achievement or something where you can finish the game with certain people having injuries or something like that, or it might be something. It might be where you don't have any injuries at all. But yeah, you're right. I'm just sort of sat there thinking it didn't really go anywhere because I'm pretty sure Nick and is it Eric or Jason or they can get injured and you can find a little medical kit, but it doesn't go from there. The player doesn't really get punished for it. So I really like that you've taken that idea and then given it some meaning later on, like Liam just said, the thing from Until Dawn.
Yeah, something I wanted to elaborate on a little bit is that Jack and I often speak that there's this heavy theme within these games that you can't mess with nature. Until Dawn, if you usually attack a squirrel or a crow or the elk, it usually costs you. But yours is quite interesting because not only do you have to kill animals, they're your main villain. So yeah, what made you pick animals as the villain, and I guess how would that make it different to other Supermassive games, I guess?
I think it would add so great question. Well, one is the themes. I have two themes in my story. One is to treasure your family, always, you know what I mean? Because that's one of the reasons why the family did this trip, is just to come closer as a family. And it's oh wow, yeah, if they survive, they're definitely going to never forget this trip. But also it's one of the reasons why I chose the animals is because one is obviously you don't want to kill animals in real life or a story. It's but it's one of those things where it's well, how many times have we done a human being turns into a monster, or there's some kind of demon that you have to fight or something, and to be fair, those were still well done. It's just that this would kind of change it up a little bit, you know what I mean? Because imagine you're hiding in a pile of hay, and you need to keep quiet, and then you just hear this dog barking, giving this demonic growl, and is just trying to smell for you, you know what I mean? You have to stay hidden. It just, to me, it just adds a layer of terror, because it's not one of the things is okay, why are the animals doing this? It's one of the things, and I think it would also challenge not only the characters but the audience too, because it's well, you don't want people are kind of more adjusted to shooting a zombie rather than shooting an animal that's kind of like a zombie, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things where it's you kind of think the animals, oh, they're only rabid, but do we have to kill them? But it's oh no, they're not rabid, it's something else. So that's one of the things that I think would I don't think Dark Pictures has, they've never done that, so I feel that would be really interesting, and would also question players kind of stance on it, you know what I mean? Because people don't want to kill animals. But also another theme I have in my story is also the descendants should not be punished for what ancestors did. That would also be a theme in the game.
I did see that, because is it that the animals come and attack whoever's in the house every 100 years? Is that the story?
Yeah, it's like the curse. And the reason for the curse is because the people who were killed in the beginning, they came back as spirits, and they possessed and they were allowed once a night every 100 years to get their revenge, kind of thing, against the family that killed them, you know what I mean? But obviously this has been going on for a while, but it's just one of those things where it's okay, has no one ever noticed it? But I kind of mentioned that before, how 100 years ago, this is one of the things you can find out in the game. It's like, oh wow, 100 years ago, the previous shepherd family, all died. You know what I mean? On the farm, like like the grandparents hid it, like the parents didn't know about it, like all this stuff, and it's just like, oh wow, so they have been trying to wipe out this family, every 100 years, that come on the farm, kind of thing, like on the land, sort of thing. So yeah, that's one of the things about the game that would be different. It's not like, with the werewolves, like, oh, the curse is always there. It's like, for this, it's like, oh no, it's more like the curse is once a night every 100 years.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I'm reading through now, and on this channel, Brian, we love a dark ending. So I'm gonna have to ask you about the endings now. And you've put here that, like, if the dad survives on his own, like, he ends up taking his own life. Which I think, wow, it would be such a heavy and impactful thing for the player. And obviously I know you've mentioned before that if the family lives, that they'll then, like, treasure one another more and stuff. But I'm just sort of noticing that, I don't know if this is, like, conscious on your part, like whether Little Hope is one of your favourite games, but I'm picking up, obviously you've mentioned the Quarry as well, but like certain like Little Hope themes. Obviously you've got the Quarry in there, you've spoke about the medical thing that pops up in like House of Ashes. Like, was you aware of this, like when you were building this game, that you were like almost building on things that were in the existing games? Or is it just sort of complete shock to you that actually it's just, a coincidence?
Great question, Jack. I think that, okay, so as far as Little Hope, it wasn't one of my favorites, but I did like the whole idea that was behind it. With the whole that was the theme in the game. Your demons are chasing after you. If you don't face your demons, if you don't get rid of them, they're gonna kill you. Which was the theme of the game. So with this, as far as like endings, and what I took inspiration from, I figured this was more similar to the Quarry. Because I guess I did it subconsciously, because my mind was just, maybe it was still too fresh from the Quarry, but yeah, I just wanted to be like, what's like, I'm pretty sure we've seen movies about a haunted farmhouse, but I don't think they've done a game on it. So I decided that it would be, kind of interesting to take this family that, is kind of like, I mean, they're not falling apart, but they can be doing a lot better, as far as communication and being close to each other, and taking a break from technology. And it's like, okay, well, the grandparents, like our grandparents, live in this very rural farm, away from Wi-Fi and stuff and cell phones, like, the whole thing. Because obviously that's one thing I wanted to do in the game. It's like, okay, the characters have to be away from cell phones and stuff for help. So I'm like, okay, this farm then has like a lot of acres, like, so that would kind of, I guess, in a way fix that situation. But yeah, as far as like the endings, yes, the dad, if he's the only one to survive, he will take his own life at the end of the game, because I just feel like that's a realistic thing to happen. If it's any of the other kids, like, that really depends. Like, you might see like them walking down the street, and a car comes by, and they ask if that person is okay, and then they don't say anything and the game ends. Like, what I mean? It's just like, so obviously, yes, the best ending is for the family to, the parents and kids to be alive, and obviously, I would assume, like, it's like, they're never gonna come back here again, and it's like this, I don't know if, like, what would happen if it would be on the news or something, but it would definitely be like, oh wow, like something bad would happen on this farm. And yeah, there's even an possible ending where it's like, oh wow, everyone is dead, and what I mean, like that. Yeah, there's different versions. So yeah.
See, the Quantic Dream games heavily do this, where, for example, like, if in Heavy Rain, Ethan's the only survivor, really, he'll take his own life. And obviously, like, I mean, the purpose of the series really is for us to dream big. And part of me thinks, like, why even stop there at those two? Like, you could have multiple ones. I'm imagining a version here off the top of my head where maybe the parents die, but the kids survive. And then you could have one where maybe the eldest twin, like, gets his act together and then, like, starts looking after, like, his siblings a bit more and is more considerate. So yeah, there's like a lot of directions you can go with it, and I know Jack loves an ultimatum ending, so it's really epic that you've gone and included that in there, Brian.
Yeah, so like I could just imagine if it was like everyone died, it could be like the next morning, yeah, like you say, there could be a news reporter there or something. The demons or the spirits have left the animals, and you're literally just seeing animals that sort of like grazing in this field, plodding round as they normally would. Obviously, they're not possessed at this point, but you've got bloodshed, like the place is wrecked, and you're thinking, what the hell has gone on? Like, these animals are absolutely fine, but it's just absolutely manic and chaos everywhere else. And I was just like, wow, like, yeah, like I'd love that. Like, the more I'm hearing, the more I'm thinking, like, this would be such a good idea.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, it eventually might say something like a 1 week later, and it shows police like knocking or something on the farm, like, because let's say that this, like, they live on their own, obviously, but it's just one of those things where it's like, well, the next town over, like, hasn't heard from the grandparents in a while, so they wanted to check on them or something, or I don't know. You can have it where some people just show up, they knock, and it's just like, yeah, there's just blood everywhere, and the families, the bodies, and just like in the dogs and everything. It's just like, so it's like, what happened here? And it's just like, it could be like news, family massacred themselves in a farm, like that's what the news would say, but it's like, no, that's not what happened. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like it could be that because like the dad has anger issues, the media just assume it's to do with him and he's maybe the culprit. So like the media gets it wrong, which kind of punishes you for killing all five, which could be a really cool take on doing that.
Fun fact, I actually tried to look up like potential voice actors for the characters. So I guess for the son, the youngest son, I don't know if you guys seen The Walking Dead.
Yep.
Okay, you have. So I would pick Chandler Riggs or the youngest one. Yeah, so like Carl. Carl was a character in The Walking Dead, and I would pick him because I think that he would. I don't think the actor is doing much right now. Also, I think that he would do very well in kind of like a horror game, like being a voice actor for it. And I think that actor also has a lot of popularity and fans from The Walking Dead, so he would be. So a lot of fans of him from the show would come and check out this game and help boost it up because they enjoyed him in the show. So, so for the sister, you probably don't know her. I'm gonna go with Emma, Foreman. If you guys have never seen Avengers, or the Marvel movies, she played a teenage version of Ant-Man's daughter. So it's like, oh wow, like, a Marvel actor, and it's like, well, yeah, like she was in a minor role, like a very minor role, so I feel like that would be, kind of cool. So yeah, for the eldest brother, his name is Amadeus Serafini. He actually played a character in the Scream TV series. I don't know, I just feel like, so I didn't see him, but I think that he has the right look, and I just think the fact that it's like, a character from the Scream TV show, I think that would be pretty cool. You can get a lot of fans to come, and see and see the game, because it's like, he's in a horror thing before. For the mom, I had the most trouble with, so I just went with Essie Davis. She played a very minor character in Game of Thrones, actually. This was the hardest one, because I'm like, because I was looking for an actor who's like, okay, she's not middle-aged, but she needs to have like a motherly persona, and I just went with her, and that's what I did. And now for the dad, this one was tricky because I had a few options. So for the dad, I decided that Ian Bohen might work for the dad. I don't know if you guys know him, but he's actually in he's a big character in Teen Wolf.
Yeah, no, okay, no, that's really cool, and it really paints the picture of this farmhouse family, which, but yeah, no, it certainly has a lot of strong potential, your game. I'm seeing it from a horror perspective with the cornfields, the barns, the creepy animals. this family that can kind of like make or break in this scenario. Yeah, it's just honestly, there's a lot riding for it.
Well, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate this. This was a lot of fun, and yeah, I just the idea of like a game like this being made, like that, this was just my own, come up with version of like doing a horror game, and I just thought they haven't done a family dynamic, and this kind of like whole haunted farmhouse thing. I just feel like would have been kind of cool. And also the animals being the antagonist, I guess you could say, for most of the game. I think that would also be pretty cool as well, because it's like it's a different threat. It's not like a Wendigo, or it's not like the zombies and vampires from House of Ashes, because I mean, technically those weren't when the characters are infected, like the way they're like kind of bat creatures, how that they look mostly human. I figured I just called them zombies because I'm like, that's kind of the stage they're at. So yeah, I just feel like this would have added a different threat, and just give kind of like breathe new life into the dark pictures. Like, not that it's dying, it's just that a lot of their games are they've done a lot of monsters now, like, so Supermassive Games have done werewolves, wendigos, vampires, aliens. It's like, and they're doing aliens again in Directive 8020. So I think that like a farmhouse survival horror game like would be kind of like taking it in a different direction, where it's like, oh, okay, so we're not dealing with the same antagonists as the last games.
Yeah, I think the thing I'd like kind of ask for in each different Supermassive game is just variety, really. And it looks like yours offers variety in terms of the villain, the family, the themes as well, like you mentioned, with like cherishing your family and whatever. But yeah, like honestly, it just like, if that was in the Supermassive Game shelf, that would be a game that I would buy, and I could see it seamlessly fitting into the rest of them. We have a tradition, Brian, where we let our guests sign us off on the episode. So thank you very much for joining us, Brian. We'll let you say goodbye.
All right. Well, thank you, Liam and Jack. This was an absolute blast. I hope everyone here watching had an absolute blast out as well. I will see you guys in the comments. I will, if you guys want to talk some more, if you want to join, I highly recommend you guys join the Discord, the Butterfly Effect Discord, the Butterfly Effect Podcast Discord, because it is so much fun. There's a lot of great people here, including Jack and Liam, and I hope you guys can all share your amazing ideas for future games, because yeah, I mean, there is just so much potential, and as long as you let your creativity flow, you can definitely make a pretty interesting story for a game. So yeah, I highly recommend you guys give it a try.
Jack, that was so perfect. He's going to put us out of job, mate.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah. Look at that.
About it.
Brian,
Yeah.
you're a natural.
Thank you.
And honestly, Brian, just from me, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you so much for all of the comments that you put in our videos. Like, it's so nice. I mean, we love doing the channel anyway. But, when you get sort of like consistent comments from like the same people, it's really nice, because it feels like you're getting to know people and building up a little community and stuff. So yeah, just thank you for being an active member on the channel.
Well, it's my pleasure, Jack, and thank you guys for your awesome content and responding back, because this is one of the things on YouTube that gets me. Not everyone responds to comments in their comment section, which I'll be honest with you guys, it kind of ticks me off how some YouTubers don't reply to people who say things in their comments. Like, it kind of feels like you're being ignored. So I appreciate you guys not doing that. You guys are trying to build a community and relationship with your commenters, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, nail on the head. Jack and I vowed since day one that we're going to try our best with that. So it's definitely something we like doing, and I just almost see it as rude not to do it. Like, someone's spent time leaving a comment, and a lot of them are like really big and really intricate that someone's put a lot of effort into, and I just feel like you have to, because it just merits a response, and I generally am intrigued to elaborate those conversations. But no, fantastic. But guys, we hope you, like Brian said, we hope you enjoyed listening to the Farmhouse. It's certainly fun just to dissect this and theorize about a possible game that they could release in the future. If you, like Brian, want to go on the show and pitch your idea, we're all ears. Join the Discord and, you know, send us a message, and then maybe you can be episode 4 of creating your own supermassive games. From myself, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
See you guys.